Welcome to the Pirate Broadcast, where we interview interesting people doing interesting things, where you can expand your connections, your community. Kindness is cool and smiles are free. And let's get this party started. And we have got some stories to tell you today. Matt, good morning, good day, good afternoon. How are you doing?
Russ, I'm doing really well, and I'm pleased to be on your show. And I've brought my free smile for price of entry.
Well, smiles are free, so you can pass them around. Take one down, pass it around.
I love it.
So Matt, I want to talk about. We were talking before the show, and I think you and I could probably hang out a while and have great conversations. And so, for the sake of the pirate community, I just wanted to kind of recap and frame what you're doing currently that we can share and bring value to the pirate community. What is it that you're up to right now that we can unpack?
So two things. So the first is I'm a CEO of a nutrition innovation company, which is founded by two scientists. One's a cardiologist, one's a doctor of pharmacology. And we're bringing to the world sugar reduction, sugar replacement, and anti-diabetes products, all made from a food as medicine point of view. And so from a marketing perspective, we're taking on a challenge to reposition sugar. And our sugar replacement and sugar enhancement products are all still made of sugar. And so part of the challenge in that is as everybody knows, sugar is evil. And what we've asked a basic question, a first principle question: why is that so? What is the problem, and can we fix the problem? And so part of the solution is to not necessarily go to an alternative, but go back in time and ask some really fundamental questions about why do we eat sugar, what's the problem, and can we fix the basic crop on the plant and take that forward. So that is exciting. We're active in that all around the world. We have launched in Australia, South Africa, India, Thailand, Malaysia, Canada, Central America, Brazil, Australia, and we just announced a new partnership in the UK.
Fantastic. Congratulations. And how long have you been doing this?
We started that in 2017, so we're doing that for 4 years. And all the really smart things are invented by our founders and the scientists. They're the geniuses. My task is to try and find ways for their ideas to come to market and bring them to audiences. Pleased to say that we're just awarded by the United Nations as one of the top 50 companies in the world, bringing change to food systems around the world. So we're doing well, but still there's a lot of diabetes and obesity out there. So we've got a bit of a way to go.
Yeah. Any recommendations? First of all, what's the name of the organization? What's the name of the product?
The company is called Nutrition Innovation, and our product that goes to market is a technology called Nucane.
Nucane.
Yeah.
Spelled with a K, right?
Nucane.
Nucane. Okay. All right. I was reading about it, and it's fascinating because, first of all, diabetes is huge, and being able to fight and reduce that in our lives is absolutely critical. So what's the mechanism that allows that to take place, or at least improves the situation?
Yeah, I'll try and take you through a little bit of kind of basic history of sugar and basic science of sugarcane crop. Within the sugarcane plant, it's packed full of antioxidants. It's got about 25 times more antioxidants than green tea. If you went to just a normal plant in the field, you get a very naturally complex and naturally rich product. However, by the time you get to white refined sugar, which is very common in America, there are zero antioxidants, and it's really just sucrose. So the sugar industry for about 150 years takes those antioxidants and considers them the waste stream and puts them out to fertilizer and puts them out to animal feed. But these antioxidants, if you keep them in the sugar and if you swallow them, they have two benefits. The first is they slow down metabolism of sugar, and second is they slow down transport of sugar. So actually the effect is these antioxidants stop more sugar going to your bloodstream. So you don't get those peaks in all that sugar rush from eating products. You get a smooth, flat entry of sugar into your body. So it's a slower release of sugar. So therefore, you get less of this spike in your blood glucose levels, which causes the onset of things like diabetes. So it helps to manage things by being more natural, less processed, and actually keeping all the good stuff in the crop. The reason why the industry tends to take it out and throw it into the waste stream goes back a few hundred years when there was a war between the colonies and Europe, and they wanted to standardize sugar. So the Europeans put together a beet sugar, and that's different to cane sugar. So they started refining it to get to a common standard, which is white refined sugar. So cane sugar has all these natural antioxidants, but was disregarded for getting to a global standard. So all we're doing is turning back the clock and using science to keep more antioxidants in sugar to actually mean less goes into your bloodstream to help manage diabetes better.
Wow. That's, when you look at history and you look at the way things evolved, it's always fascinated me. The curiosity of how things ended up the way they are is, the same thing in the industry where, corn syrup was so prevalent in cooking and products and services here. And if you go back a few hundred years, before canning and industrial nations and all of the processes have evolved, there's probably a few things that we could go back and review and say, that's probably not a bad idea. And this seems like it's one of them.
Yeah. Well, I think this is sort of to the broad kind of lesson here is first principles. So no matter what industry you're in, asking some very basic questions about why are things done a certain way and challenging some really well understood kind of notions can actually unlock innovation and new directions, which have been set in stone for years, but actually fundamentally aren't needed anymore. So I think what we have processing technology, which enables sugar companies to look for these antioxidants and keep them in the sugar crystal. And that's never been done before because, as I said, they're a waste stream. So they tend to go off to animal feed and not to humans. We're just getting the good stuff back to humans again. And so you get more of the good stuff, less of the bad stuff.
So how, being the marketing person you are, how big of a market actually is sugar in the world?
Well, it's crazy. I mean, so first of all, sugarcane is the world's largest crop. And so it's massive. It's about a $40 billion industry, and there's about 200 million tons a year. And I think if you stroll down to your local 7-Eleven or your Walmart, it's pretty much in every food. It's in chocolates and biscuits and ice creams. It's pretty much in everything you come across.
Yeah.
But also, sugar is not a sweetener. Well, not just a sweetener. It's a binder. It's a preservative. It's a filler. And so many companies have a problem taking sugar out because if you take it out, with the exception of beverages, your chocolate bar doesn't hold together. Your chocolate bar doesn't bind together. Your chocolate bar doesn't serve anymore. And so it's functional in a food and not just a sweetener. So therefore, by fixing the sugar problem and making it actually less processed, more natural, then you can actually help companies make better versions of the foods they already have.
I would love to see more health in our food supply. It'd be wonderful. Gabe, I just want to give a shout out to a couple of people here.
Hey, Gabe.
So Gabe, good morning. How you doing? Liz Lawless, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. Rick is in the house. Good morning from Kentucky. And I want to say, hey, also, I thought I saw somebody else here. Elizabeth, yeah, wow. Great to keep up the great work. Howard Kaufman's in the room. Thank you so much, Howard. I hope you're doing well. Michael Baker's here. And Liz says, huge. It is huge. Sugar and salt are my enemies. That's probably the case for a lot of people.
I think
the way we consume food and everything in the U.S. is just, it's dangerous,
Yeah,
There's
I think there's 2 points to what you said, which is the first is we all need less and better. So we need less carbohydrates often, and we need better carbohydrates. And the other problem with all of this is it still needs to be affordable. So many people want healthier choices, but the problem is a lot of those healthy choices are more expensive. So people are then forced to go back to solutions which are not so optimal for them because they're cheap. And so part of the challenge of our technology is by eliminating processing steps of refining and going back up to the crop, we can take the price down. So make a better product, but actually make it still very affordable. And so one of the reasons we've been doing well in Africa is think a little bit about if Western world and America and Europe has an obesity problem and too much consumption problem. We're also dealing on the other end where there's, I think, 8,500 children die of malnutrition every day. They're not getting enough nutrition, not enough carbohydrates. So in Africa, they need the opposite. They still need more carbohydrates, but they can't make the mistakes that we've done in the West. They need to have access to healthier carbohydrates, but less processed, less refined, and more nutritious ones. So one of the reasons we've launched in Africa first is because a more natural, healthier, more nutritious carbohydrate is desperately needed across that continent. And so it's kind of both ends of the sort of economic spectrum need to have better nutrition, but for different reasons.
Yeah, I think I love that idea because I know that you've been involved in emerging countries. When you were in Vietnam, we told a story about how you were getting involved in that, rebuilding and things like that, just like Africa. So as you build out the infrastructure and build out some supplies and products and services, it's nice to be able to do it in a healthy way, in a productive way, where they get the benefit of the food supply and not necessarily addicted to the sugar side of the equation. So I love that idea.
I agree with you. It's a little bit about it like infrastructure. So, one of the challenges in some markets is building new infrastructure means you got to pull apart the old structure. But if you go to markets like Africa, you can start from scratch and start new and fresh. So therefore, innovation is sometimes easier in those markets because you're not really combating too much existing infrastructure. What I think we've found in some markets is existing industries and existing infrastructure which don't like to be disruptive, and they tend to have more funds, more resources. They tend to fight back, and so sometimes actually developing in a blank sheet of paper is easier than reconstructing a whole ecosystem. If you know what I mean.
Well, not only that, but the belief system behind it. Just like you're talking, a lot of manufacturers have actually developed products around the sugar. Refined sugar. So it's like, okay, we're going to throw this out in the dumpster and start over is a huge undertaking for anybody.
They've got brands. Those brands have equity. Their brands have loyalty. Any change in formulation has uproar and concern from their customer base. So there's nervousness around changing. But still, with that, there is 500 million people with diabetes in the world. So and about I think 8% of the world now has diabetes. So it's still it's probably the other pandemic that we're in. It's just doesn't get as much spotlight.
Yeah, it doesn't get as much spotlight. I'm kind of curious though, Matt, is your goal for your business to help eliminate health issues by diabetes, or is it to reformulate future products with New Cane?
It's two, and probably both. So the first thing is we can help customers all around the world reformulate their existing brands by using a healthier sugar and affordable sugar. So reformulation, repositioning of existing brands, taking brands which are unhealthy into a healthy spectrum or a healthier choice, is certainly part of our business. But these antioxidants, which are present in sugarcane, another idea our founders had was, what happens if you could just get those antioxidants and take them without the sugar? So they're wrapped up in sugarcane. But why, if you could separate them out and just swallow the antioxidants as a tablet, that could be an anti-diabetic compound. And so that's our second product, which is a product called NXP, which is a super concentrated antioxidant compound, which is if you take one tablet, it'll block metabolism of sucrose for the day. So it's an effective and affordable natural anti-diabetes supplement. So therefore, what you don't have to do is really work with the food industry or work with reformulation. You could just take that supplement to the market and allow people to take that tablet, enjoy their existing foods, but manage their diabetes on a daily basis with a natural compound. Again, it's affordable because that's coming from a waste stream of the sugar industry. as opposed to starting with a new chemical or a new compound or a new drug. This is just a naturally occurring plant compound, which if you just find it, take it, and standardize it, it can be a healthy anti-diabetic tablet.
That's amazing. Michael Baker says, yes, many tend to resist change.
Yeah,
that is so true.
I think Mr. Baker is right. I would also say, I would add to that and say that the not only some people just resist, but I think, as I was saying, some parts of the industry have actually war chests to actively, aggressively fight. And so, you're as you say, you're battling sometimes perception, but you're also battling resources as well. So, but where I think we're at with sugar is about 10, 15 years ago with fats. There was all fats were bad, get fats out of everything. And the science emerged to be there's good fats and bad fats. And so actually it's well understood that actually some fats in your diet is actually quite positive for you. Then with carbohydrates, we had this conversation around, brown bread, brown wheat, brown pasta is better for you because it's naturally complex. It's less refined. And that's going to happen over the next 10 years over the sugar industry. And that we'll have a conversation about, there's good sugars and bad sugars. And this idea of you can strip out a carbohydrate and put in a chemical and that will be better for you actually has knock-on effects as well for your digestive tract, and has researched that many of those products actually impact your microbiome. And therefore, if it's impacting your microbiome, it's actually impacting not just your gut health, but your mental health as well. And so ingesting more chemicals to get sweetness is not really necessarily a good long-term answer. Again, our founders just asked the question, what's the problem with the sugar we have? And in a very basic way, and this is not strictly correct because there's a little bit more complexity of the science, but an apple's 10% sugar. And if an apple is 10% sugar and that's okay and doesn't give you a sugar rush, well, what's the difference? And a lot of the difference is natural complexity. And once you start refining a product down to just a pure carbohydrate, a sucrose, that's when you start getting a lot more problems. So again, less is better, but if you can use science to get to a more natural product and more as nature intended, and you're going to be in a better shape.
I love it. There's always a cause and effect. So I want to go back though, Matt, and identify what crazy idea that you had that allowed you to get involved in this in the first place to get it started as a marketer.
Yeah. So when I was running a group of advertising group companies across Asia Pacific. Many of you would know them. They're part of the Rubik Group, which is an American-based company. So we had 35 offices, 2,000 people across Asia Pacific. And our CEO, David Sable, who's based in New York, set up this program, which was an incubator, which he called Sparkplug. We were bringing together people with ideas, but maybe not necessarily resources, together with our company, because we had resources, but we were looking for ideas. So we were incubating companies. And a long time ago, this scientist walked in with these crazy ideas about less processed sugars, restructuring sugars, anti-diabetic compounds in sugarcane, which all sounded a little bit like magic, but he had ideas. So part of that program, working with startups, we took him to a number of our food customers who were looking for sugar reduction systems. So I just started working with his insane ideas for a period of time, and then it just got momentum. And I know some of his ideas sound crazy when you first hear them, but the more you get to see him, the more you talk to him about science, the more you listen to customers and go, actually, this stuff works. The more I thought that this is a scientist who can change the world, and he needs people to help him create a movement, and so why not jump on board and join him? So that's why I did it.
That's a fantastic story. I love that. And also, in the meantime, you wrote a book here recently. I want to kind of expand on what prompted you to write the book and tell a little bit about the book.
Okay, so I'm going to give you a bit of inspiration, but then please don't take it too seriously or literally. But
there's always a hesitation when somebody prefaces an introduction.
It just sounds so noble. But a while ago, a few years ago, I kind of read this piece that Shakespeare wrote some of his work during the what plague. He was locked down, and because Shakespeare was in lockdown, couldn't go anywhere, he started writing some of his great work. As at the start of our lockdown in Singapore, I was telling a friend in the UK who was looking for inspiration. I was saying, well, why don't you take a leaf out of Shakespeare's book? He actually applied himself during lockdown and didn't waste his time. And that was good advice to give. And I kind of put down the phone and went, maybe I should take the same advice.
Yeah.
And as I was mentioning, building a global business, we were on the road 24/7. So we're doing 250 days, on overseas. I mean, sugar is not in Singapore. It's in Africa. It's in Brazil. It's in Central America. So we were in those markets talking to producers, getting to know the crop and all that sort of
Right.
work. So suddenly you got locked down. Suddenly those 250 days of travel have evaporated, and that activity is gone. So you have more time to either watch Netflix or be productive. And so
Yeah.
I had ideas rattling around about a book for quite some time. So I decided that it was good time to apply myself while I had the chance.
Now, what's the name of the book? Share the name of the book.
The book is called The Insanity of Ideas.
I love the idea. I love the title, by the way.
And what the book deals with is I've lived always in my life in the company of ideas. So always either in the advertising and marketing industry, you're either making them or presenting them or getting rejected by them. But you're constantly selling ideas or presenting ideas every day. And as part of the industry, you also have to judge ideas and whether they're good or bad. I'm always fascinated by how ideas were selected, how they came to be, and is there a distinction between a good idea or a bad idea, or it's just context? So I really wanted to unpack that in the book. So what it does do, the book, is it starts off with a discussion of ideas, a bit of a history of ideas, but really kind of down to modern day and how our ideas socialized around the planet, how quickly they are, how much pressure as individuals we have to select ideas, how much tension they are when those ideas are now somebody has an idea that runs against your grain and that you don't agree with, and how we're all primed now to fight like UFC fighters in each corner. Yeah. And then asking, what's the future of all this? So are we best fit to select all the ideas going forward? Some of the ideas becoming more powerful, and in 10, 20, 30, 40 years' time, will we hand over responsibility to idea selection to another intelligence? And so we shared the planet with Neanderthals in maybe as late as 130,000 years ago, where they had ideas and we had ideas. And so therefore, in maybe 50 years, we will be sharing the planet with future artificial intelligence, which will have its own ideas, and we'll be forced to compete. So it really does the past and present and future of ideas and ask some fundamental questions. Are we selecting the right ones?
Yeah. And as Steve Jobs says, you can only connect the dots looking back, right?
Yeah. And I think there's another quote for Steve Jobs in the book, which is, he said something like, we don't come up necessarily with great ideas. We just select great people and they pick the ideas. We let them do their work. And so I asked a question, which is, if the human race invented some artificial intelligence, would we be brave enough to follow Steve Jobs' advice and say, well, they're smarter, let's give them the reins, let them select the ideas? Yeah. Or would we say that, no, Steve is wrong, we can't let smarter people run this place, we need to still have reins? And so one of the ideas, in bringing it back to food, is there is a global debate now about handing over driving responsibility to artificial intelligence.
Right.
So is Elon Musk right? Let the cars drive themselves. And then 1.35 million people die on roads every year. And even the US Department of Transport estimates about 94% of lives could be saved if we handed responsibility over. So, okay, it might be a better idea, but what else would be a better idea? So we talked about food safety and food security. So there's about 800 million people living with malnutrition on the planet. Mm-hmm. But there's enough food waste on the planet already to feed another 2 billion people.
It's a distribution issue, isn't it?
It's a distribution issue. So if it's a distribution issue, surely that could be solved. But there you've got politics and geography and money getting in the way.
Right.
So it's a bit like if you had a better idea, who should run that? Should that be run by somebody with better ideas, or an intelligence with better ideas, or are we still going to be making bad ideas for our own sort of parochial reasons? And at what point would we decide, well, actually, there are more people dying from malnutrition than there are road accidents, so we should hand that over too? And what should we hand over to better intelligences, and how soon will that happen? And the worst bit about that, though, is what seems to be happening fastest is not those good things, but the rate artificial intelligence being handed over within the military is quite outstanding. And there's I think Putin announced it first, and the Chinese came in, and they've already announced a military arms race in artificial intelligence to hand over the theater of war to other people's ideas or other creatures' ideas. And so it's a debate to see what race will win. Will it be the race to take good ideas into the theater of war, or the race to take ideas into solve problems like climate change and income inequality and food distribution?
And sometimes the most aggressive orators of the idea win, not necessarily the best idea, right?
Yeah, I think it's spot on. It's and sometimes the worst ideas get traction just because they've got media weight and they've got some degree of kind of, if you like, authority behind them. And so, we've seen that a lot over the last, 2 or 3 years, in terms of if somebody's got a degree of authority and credibility, they can push an idea through. But none of that is necessarily new. So one of the fun things to unpack in the book was to go back in time, even to the Roman times, and pick up which bad ideas which were sold through then. And one I like, which is not too far from you, which is in Kansas City. I think there was a doctor in about 1920 who came up with a new medical treatment for pretty much everything, which was to surgically implant goat testicles into you. And it sounds like a crazy medical idea, but
a bad idea that got enough traction that it actually happened.
Yeah, he had lots of medical clinics throughout America. He started his own radio show, and he even sponsored the Brinkley Goats in I think Kansas City. He had his own baseball team for a while. And so it's just generally speaking, people will follow bad ideas, and I think the speed of following bad ideas is accelerating, and because the spread of ideas is quicker. So it's just a fun way to kind of unpack all those tensions in society, and no spoilers, but also to give a couple of solutions at the end and say, well, if that's where we are, are there some good ways out of this? So a bit of provocative fun from me.
Yeah. James said, excellent start to my morning. Thanks, James.
James.
I really appreciate you. Elizabeth says, creative ideas, can't wait to check out your book, Matthew. Fantastic. And she says, we're all considered crazy or insanity. Yeah. Insane when we live and work with ideas. I just appreciate the fact that we are here today, and you and I, we grew up in a marketing world that has considerably changed considerably in the last number of years, and the way things are influenced, the way things are decided upon, and the way that things are moving forward, we really have to pay attention to what's right. And I applaud you and gratitude for the work you're doing in the sugar, and trying to eliminate diabetes and some of the things that you're doing in that arena as well. So keep sharing great ideas and doing good work, Matt.
Thank you very much, Russ. We do our part. There's lots of people behind it. And again, all the good ideas are from our founders. I just tried to take credit for them on your podcast, but they're the smart ones. So far, so good. We've sold 11 million kilograms so far, around, particularly in Malaysia, where I'm closely based. And we just started production in El Salvador, and El Salvador has duty-free access to America. So we've been working hard on the American market, and with our partners in El Salvador, that now creates a very affordable path into America. So hopefully it won't be too long before we hit your market.
Fantastic. Well, keep us posted. We'll have to have you back for updates. And now that you're a pirate, you have access to the community. And also, thanks for being here and sharing this information. It's fascinating to me, and I'm always curious about what people are doing and how they got there, and why they're doing it. And I think it's important for people to understand that there's always something out there you can actually think about in a different way, see it in a new perspective, make different decisions, decide for yourself, do the research, make sure that you're not influenced by some influencer that's misinformed, and, just enjoy your day, because you know what?
I don't think that what you're doing with long form content is actually better in that having a discussion, having a debate, hearing a couple of sides of the story, getting the nuances, it makes you better informed. I think the worst thing you do is take your knowledge from Twitter.
It's true story.
But diving into a subject, educating yourself, and just absorbing some content is a good thing to do. It's time well spent.
Well, if you ever want to consider using video, I'm happy to contribute to the cause. So,
all right, sounds good. Very, very good. So, thanks, Russ. Very much
Thank
enjoyed
you,
the
everyone.
time. Thanks to be a pirate.
Appreciate you, and everyone knows that kindness is cool, smiles are free. So you enjoy your day. Take care.
Enjoy. Thanks, Russ.
Thank you for joining the Pirate Broadcast. If you found this content valuable, please like, comment, and share it across your social media channels. I would love the opportunity to help others grow in their business. The Pirate Syndicate is a platform where you show up, we produce the show. It's that easy. If you want to be seen, be heard, and be talked about, join the Pirate Syndicate today.